The front door exploded inward as officers stormed the living room, flashlights blinding Tasha where she stood in her pajamas, hands raised, voice trembling. "Please, what's happening?" But one officer panicked, fired, and the bullet tore into her shoulder. She collapsed, screaming. Another cop shouted, "Stay down or we'll shoot again." Neighbors rushed outside, recording as chaos filled the house. Up the stairs, Marcus froze, staring at his bleeding wife on the floor. His voice dropped to a cold whisper. "You raided the wrong house. Comment your city or country below. I want to see how far this message travels. And if you stand with justice over abuse, hit like and subscribe." The next morning light casts warmth across the Hale home, a sharp contrast to the chaos that would shatter their night. In daylight, you see who they really are. Tasha, a community nurse with a soft voice that made children feel safe. Marcus, a quiet, disciplined man whose posture alone told stories of battles he never bragged about. Their home was peaceful, structured, filled with framed photos of deployments and handwritten notes from families he'd saved overseas. Most neighbors knew Marcus only as the polite man who helped carry groceries, fix fences, and coach kids push-ups in the yard. Few knew his full history. Former Navy SEAL commander. Highly decorated. Tactical genius. A man who had led teams through hell and brought them home alive. But the local police department never bothered to know. A crime ring had been operating 2 houses down, and for weeks, officers built a rust case based on outdated intel and a sloppy address match. Several neighbors tried warning them, wrong house. Wrong people. But officers brushed it off. Many tension spike, one cop even snapped earlier that week. "We don't take orders from civilians. Stay out of it." That arrogance would ignite everything. Back inside their home, Marcus and Tasha spent their last calm hours laughing over a burned breakfast and planning a small weekend trip. Marcus had been trying to slow down, to heal from years of missions. Tasha was his peace, the grounding force he'd searched for all his life. Neither of them had any idea that the same officers who dismissed the neighborhood warnings were preparing a raid that would explode into their home and into their future. And when the truth finally surfaced, it would shake the entire city. Marcus dropped to his knees beside Tasha, pressing his hands over her bleeding shoulder as officers swarmed the room, guns still raised, even though she lay crying on the floor. Her breaths were sharp, shallow. He could feel her trembling. "Get away from her," a sergeant barked. Marcus lifted his trembling hand slowly, palms bloody. "She's shot. She needs a medic. Now." But instead of helping, 2 officers grabbed his arms, wrenching them behind his back so violently his muscles tightened on instinct. He didn't fight, not yet, but his jaw flexed with a quiet, contained fury. Tasha whimpered, "Marcus, don't let them." "Ma'am, you should have complied faster," the sergeant snapped, stepping over her as if she were debris on the floor. Many tension spike. Marcus froze. That single sentence sliced deeper than the gunshot. Outside, neighbors yelled from their porches, recording everything. "Y'all shot a nurse. That's the wrong house." But cops shouted back, "Step back or we arrest every one of you." The officers still hadn't called paramedics. Marcus breathed slow, controlled breaths, the kind he used in missions when chaos threatened to take over. He scanned faces, positions, weapons, angles. Old instincts kicked in like muscle memory, but he held them down. For Tasha. For the truth. One officer kept his knee pressed into Marcus's back. "Stop moving." "I'm trying to breathe," Marcus said evenly. "And my wife is bleeding out." "No sudden moves, hero," the sergeant sneered. Hero. The word felt like an insult coming from a man who couldn't follow his own training. Another officer approached the sergeant, whispering urgently, "Sir, the suspect's file said gray sedan." "There's no sedan here." The sergeant hissed, "We stick to the script." "The what?" Marcus asked. The sergeant smirked. "Oh, so you can hear when you need to." Marcus's eyes shifted, cold, calculating, but silent. Minutes dragged. Tasha grew pale. The carpet beneath her darkened. Marcus felt his pulse hammering. Every second without medical care was another threat to her life. Finally, flashing lights appeared outside, not paramedics, but another patrol unit. From it stepped a lieutenant with a stiff jaw and colder eyes. He surveyed the scene, then pulled the sergeant aside. Marcus listened. The lieutenant hissed, quiet but clear. "Erase the body cam. All of them. Now." Mini tension spike. Marcus's stomach dropped. So they knew. They knew they were wrong. And instead of helping his wounded wife, they were already planning the cover-up. A young officer nearby whispered, "Sir, this is bad. She's innocent." "Shut up and follow orders," the lieutenant snapped. "We're not losing careers over one mistake." "One mistake?" Marcus muttered. "You shot an unarmed woman." The lieutenant turned to him, disgust dripping off every syllable. "You'll get your chance to complain in court if she makes it that long." Stakes reminder. Tasha's life hung in the balance. His freedom did too. Every second was a countdown. Marcus shifted his weight, feeling the full force of his training rising inside him, the calm before the storm. He looked into the lieutenant's eyes, and something in his stare made the man step back without meaning to. Because for the first time, Marcus wasn't just a victim. He was watching, calculating, preparing. And the officers had no idea who they had just tried to silence. The lieutenant stepped back toward the door, barking orders to contain the scene, but one officer didn't move. A young rookie, barely mid-20s, clean uniform, hands shaking, stared at Marcus like he'd seen a ghost. "Commander," he whispered. The sergeant snapped, "What did you say?" The rookie swallowed hard, voice trembling but loud enough for everyone to hear. "That's Commander Marcus Hale. Former Navy SEAL, Silver Star, 3 Bronze Stars, he saved 32 soldiers in Fallujah." Silence hit the room like a grenade. Every officer froze. Guns slowly lowered. The lieutenant's face drained of color. Marcus didn't brag. Didn't blink. Didn't need to. His reputation spoke louder than any uniform in that house. The rookie stepped forward, eyes wide. "Sir, I saw your photo on the memorial wall at the base. They teach us your rescue operation in training." The sergeant stuttered, that can't be him." But it was. Neighbors outside heard the rookie's words and began shouting louder, recording every second. "This ain't no criminal, this is a hero." And then it happened. One neighbor live-streamed the entire scene. Thousands joined within minutes. Then tens of thousands. Comments exploded, "Wrong house. They shot a SEAL's wife. Cover up. Post the body cam." Mini tension spike. Another neighbor yelled from the yard, "Go live. Don't let them hide this." The lieutenant panicked. "Shut that off. Everyone off your phones." But it was too late. The truth was already out. A second patrol vehicle screeched to a stop, this time from Internal Affairs. They'd seen the live stream. They marched straight toward the lieutenant, expression stone cold. "Lieutenant Carver," one investigator said, "we need your full body cam footage." The lieutenant stuttered. "It malfunctioned." "No," the rookie cut in, voice strong now. "He told us to erase it." The room cracked open. Everything the police tried to bury was now exploding into the light, and every camera outside was still recording. Internal Affairs moved fast, faster than anyone expected. Within minutes, the lieutenant and the sergeant were placed in handcuffs on Marcus's front lawn. Neighbors cheered, phones lifted high as officers who once barked orders were now silent, heads lowered in shame. The rookie who spoke up was escorted aside, protected, treated like the only man in uniform who remembered what integrity meant. Tasha was finally rushed to the hospital. Marcus rode with her, his hand wrapped around hers the entire way. When she opened her eyes hours later, he breathed for the first time since the raid began. Outside the hospital, Crowds gathered, hundreds of people calling for accountability, justice, and reform. News stations lined the sidewalks. The police chief stood before the cameras and issued a public apology, voice heavy with humiliation. But the moment everyone remembered came when Marcus stepped out beside Tasha, her arm bandaged, her chin lifted strong. He looked straight into the cameras and said, "You attacked my family. You tried to hide the truth. But truth always fights its way back." And just like that, justice stood taller than power once again.